I am going to show you how to fix a button, because I feel like the number one thing people always comment on when they don't know how to sew is I don't even know how to sew on a button. So today I'm going to teach you. So I have two shirts here just for example, so that you know even higher end and lower end shirts, they're all kind of the same. So dress shirts, button-up dress shirts, they actually come with extra buttons so that if one falls off, you can replace it. And where you want to look for those, and this is obviously a newer shirt, this was like a $10 shirt, and then this is a nicer Calvin Klein shirt, and they're all the same. So when they're buttoned up, when you go to this bottom button, there's actually two spare buttons underneath, and it's the same on any type of dress shirt. So here's this bottom button. Let me button that up just so you can tell. Maybe not. Oh. Well, this is the bottom button, and then there's two extras. And if you notice, those two extra buttons are not the same size. The reason for that being is that the bigger button is for the front holes. The smaller button on the sleeves of dress shirts, this bigger one is the same for the cuffs, but then here, there's this little button, and those fall off kind of easily, especially if a lot of dry cleaners, for some reason, if you send your shirts to the dry cleaners, buttons will break and fall off and things like that. So they have a spare small button for the smaller one right there, okay? So I went ahead and I actually cut off a button on this shirt just so that I can show you how to replace it. So here's our missing button. On dress shirts, typically what I have found is that when a button is missing, and I don't know if you'll be able to see this in the video, hopefully, there are little marks where the thread came out. Because when you sew things, the thread creates little holes in the fabric, and especially when you sew something tight like a button, it breaks apart the weave in the fabric and leaves little holes. So you typically, unless it's like a flannel shirt, sometimes you can't, but even then, usually you can tell where the button used to be. You can see it. If for some reason there's no marks there or anything, what you want to do is button at least the two around it, and then just open that hole a little and take like a pencil or a piece of chalk, maybe a pen, and just draw like a dot inside of the actual buttonhole. That way you know where to put the button. But almost every time that I fix buttons on shirts for people, I can pretty much always see, where the button used to be. Okay, so if you don't have a spare button, obviously it comes with two. I always go for those two first because they're the exact same buttons as everything else. But since this button, I actually cut it off so I could do this demonstration, I have the button right here. Hey honey, can you please shut the door in here? I'm almost done, okay?
I was going to tickle Harrison.
You want to tickle Harrison? He's downstairs still, honey.
Yay!
Okay, so then when you replace the button, you're going to need some thread. Make sure you choose the same color thread as the buttons. That does not necessarily mean it's going to be the same color as the fabric. Typically with button-up shirts, it's white thread. Okay, so cut a piece of thread, and then you'll need a needle. And any basic sewing kit will have white thread and a needle. Okay, so those of you who are really new to sewing, which is probably pretty much everyone watching this, there is the eye of the needle at the top, which is the hole. So we need to get the thread through that hole. Thread frays kind of easily, and it can't be frayed to put through there. So if there's any loose ends, you need to trim the end off. But then also a trick that my grandma taught me is if you lick the end, it keeps all those threads together so that while you're putting it through the eye of the needle, they don't separate and fray. Okay, so then you just push that through, pull the other end. There are some little tools to help you thread a needle if you have trouble. I can link a couple below. If you want, I can do a video on them, but make sure you leave a comment so I know if that's something you'd like to see. Okay, so the thread is in, my two ends line up over here so that it's 2 layers of thread. So then to tie the knot, take 2 fingers, wrap your thread around in a circle, go down below and bring it back up through that circle. It's just an easy knot, okay? And then tie a little knot, and I typically do 2 or 3 and try to land them on the same spot because I want kind of a chunky knot. If I only do 1, sometimes it can actually just pop right through the fabric. Okay, and we'll trim off the excess after we attach the button. So what we're gonna do is from the bottom of the fabric, the inside, the wrong side, whatever you wanna call it. Okay, so I can see where these holes are here, and there should be 4 holes, unless you have a button that only has the 2 holes in it. You wanna start on the inside and just push your needle through one of those holes. Okay, and that knot is gonna stop the needle or the thread from coming out. So now on the right side, go ahead and put your needle through one of the holes on the button, and it's gonna go into place. Okay, and I started on the top left hole. Okay, so next we go in X's when we attach buttons. So we start on the top left, go to the bottom right. So I'm gonna put my needle through that hole, and then I'm gonna put my needle through the bottom right hole on here. Ta-da. So then starting from the back, I'm gonna find the top left hole, or the top right hole, my apologies, and come up through the fabric. And make sure that your fabric or your thread is laying flat, because sometimes it'll bunch up a little, so you just wanna give it a nice little tug. And then go down through the bottom left. Okay, and now we're gonna start back up on the top left. That first hole that we pushed it through. And we're gonna make an X again, so bottom right. Okay, so this is a good example. Do you see how my thread's sort of bunched up? This happens very easily. All I need to do is just pull my thread a little, and now it's back out. Okay? So now we're gonna do the top right, bottom left. And really twice is plenty for a button. You can go a 3rd time if you'd like, but I have found that twice works perfect. So now we need to tie a knot. Okay, so on the inside of the fabric, I'm going to put my needle, I'm not going to go through the fabric, I'm just going to put it underneath all of the thread back here where we made those X's. And I'm not going to pull it all the way through, but when I put it under there, it creates these 2 loops with the thread. So now I'm going to put my needle through the 2 loops that I just created and just pull it tight, and it creates a nice knot. And I like to do that twice. Let's see, my knot's kind of a mess back here. Okay, I'm gonna do 1 more. All right, so now that is attached. My scissors. So now we're just gonna trim the thread. And I would leave 1 to 2 millimeters of the thread, and then just kind of pull on it a little so these edges come out, and trim the edges off as well of the thread. That way there's no loose thread hanging around. Okay, so that button is now attached. We have a working button again. I hope that you found this video very helpful. If you did, please like the video. Make sure you subscribe for more videos on how to do basic sewing skills and more advanced skills and some fun projects. And I will see you guys later. Bye.